Hey class, I hope you're doing well today. So I wanted to take a moment to explain some of the different types of irony. There's 3 different types. So we've been reading Oedipus Rex, and this play is one of the most ironic plays ever written because many different types of irony are featured throughout it. In this play, we find out that Oedipus has had an illegitimate relationship with his mother unknowingly and has also unknowingly killed his father. It's ironic for a number of reasons, and I'll explain why as I break down these different types of irony. The first type of irony that I want to talk about is situational. This is at the forefront of Oedipus. Situational irony is what happens when something subverts our expectations. We expect one thing and something else happens. It's also really important that whatever happens is related to the expectation in some way. Let me explain. Say, for instance, a band director is walking down the street and a piano falls on him. This is ironic because he's a band director and he's being attacked by a piano, which is a music instrument. Our expectation is that there would be harmony between the musician and between his instrument, and this is a moment of disharmony or disunion between the two. In other words, there's chaos, and we don't expect chaos between the two. However, this wouldn't be ironic if it was actually a construction worker who happened to get crushed by a piano, because there's not a link between the construction worker and the piano. In other words, we can't form an expectation because there's not a link between the two, and so there isn't an expectation to be subverted.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
In Oedipus, we expect that Oedipus, who is the detective in a sense, is going to find the murderer. And he does that. But what we don't expect, because he is the detective figure, is that he is actually the one who killed his father. We don't expect that because we traditionally expect the detective and the murderer to be 2 separate entities. But here we see that he is both intent on finding who did it as well as guilty of being the one who did it. The next type of irony that I really want to talk about is dramatic irony. This occurs when the audience knows something that the characters don't about what's going to happen. Let's say you're watching a horror movie and one of the characters says, "Oh, I have a really bad feeling about this." Well, you know from the fact that you're watching a horror movie, and you've probably seen the trailer, that their bad feeling is justified. And you know that this isn't going to end well for them. It's ironic because you know what's going to happen, and they don't. And in some way, they're almost referencing that thing that you know, but they don't.
Let's split up and search for this ape man who eats hamburgers. We'll split up here.
Let's split up and start searching.
Well, I guess we better split up and look around.
The first thing we'd better do is split up and search the school for clues.
Every time we split up, it's like I'm stuck with you.
This also occurs in Oedipus Rex, when Oedipus makes it so clear that he wants to find the murderer, but the audience knows that he is the murderer, and he's only going to find himself. That moment is ironic because we know what's going to happen and we know it isn't going to be good. The last type of irony is verbal irony, and this is something that you're probably very familiar with. Verbal irony occurs whenever a person or a character is sarcastic. This is less like the others because it's more about wit and sarcasm. I'm sure if you've seen any of the Marvel movies, you're very familiar with this type of quick wit where the characters will banter back and forth with one another. Sometimes they'll insult one another, sometimes they'll boast in their own abilities. There are a number of examples throughout the Marvel Universe and a number of other movies where a character will say something that uses sarcasm or verbal irony.
You could smell crazy on him.
Have care how you speak. Loki is beyond reason, but he is of Asgard, and he is my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
In any case, you know this, you call yourself Lord of Thunder.
God of Thunder.
I've never met this man in my life.
He's my brother.
Adopted.
Oedipus also uses verbal irony because in his conversation with the seer or Tiresias, he comments on the seer's existence as if it were a long night. In other words, he is ironically noting that for the seer who doesn't actually see, his existence is like a long night because he doesn't see light. He doesn't actually experience daylight. This is ironic because he's being sarcastic and he's making fun of the seer's inability to see. So these are some examples of the 3 types of irony. I hope it's been a little bit helpful for you, and I want you to think of some examples of each of them so that we can talk about them in class soon. Thank you so much, and have a great day.